In 1928, a quiet young physicist wrote an equation, and the equation talked back. It demanded a particle nobody had ever seen. 4 years later, a photograph of particles raining in from space caught its track. The math had reached reality first, which raises a question that should keep you up at night. How can mathematics discover the universe before we do? Two stories compete to answer that. One says creation was written to be read. The other says there is nothing but the math. Let's weigh them, honestly. That's the headline. Here's the story, properly. In 1928, Paul Dirac trusted an equation over his own eyes, and it demanded a particle nobody had ever seen. His equation for the electron had a second solution, a mirror particle, same mass, opposite charge. Dirac could have crossed it out. Instead, he believed the math. 4 years later, in a cosmic ray photograph, there it was. Antimatter, the positron, exactly as predicted. For the first time in history, pure math had called a particle into the room before anyone found it. And it keeps happening. Einstein's equations predicted gravitational waves in 1916. We finally heard them in 2015. A century late, the math knew first. New evidence every week. Honestly, Wade. Subscribe. So, was that one man's lucky guess, or is it a pattern? A Nobel-winning physicist named Eugene Wigner spent his career inside that pattern, and in 1960 he finally named it. People invent mathematics in total abstraction, chasing beauty, not the world. And then, decades later, that same math turns out to be the exact language nature was speaking all along. Imaginary numbers were a toy for centuries. Then, quantum mechanics could not be written without them. Strange curved geometries were pure play. Then gravity turned out to be one. Wigner called this a wonderful gift, which we neither understand nor deserve. Notice, he didn't say answer, he said gift. He was naming a debt nobody could pay. And underneath the pattern sits an even stranger fact. Einstein put it this way: the eternal mystery of the world is that it is comprehensible at all. Sit with that. A random pile of matter owes you nothing. It could have been lawless chaos, or law-bound, but far too tangled for any mind to hold. Instead, the deepest laws fit on a t-shirt, and a primate brain, built for finding fruit and dodging predators, can read them. 400 years ago, Galileo said the universe is a book, written in the language of mathematics. He was right. He never said, why? Here's where we are. The universe is readable, and its readability keeps paying out predictions. But an honest showdown doesn't stack the deck. If there's an answer that dissolves this mystery with no mind required, it deserves the floor at full strength. And the boldest one comes from a first-rank cosmologist. The strongest atheist answer to why math works is bold. The universe doesn't just use math, it is math. The cosmologist Max Tegmark argues that reality, at bottom, is a mathematical structure. If that's true, no mind is needed. Math fits the world because there is nothing else there to fit. That is a serious idea, held by serious people. Take it at full strength. But notice, it doesn't dissolve the wonder, it moves it. Why does a mathematical structure exist and light up as a world? And why this one, ordered enough to grow stars and minds to read it? Even the mathematicians who tried to explain the mystery away admitted their answers cover only a small part. Nobody gets this for free. We weigh both sides in the full episode. Link in bio. Tegmark's is the boldest reply. But let's build the whole skeptic's case, properly. 4 answers. 1. We invented math to fit the world. We measured first, then fit the curves. Fair, for the math that follows data. But Dirac's equation ran ahead of the data. You cannot tune an instrument to a song you haven't heard. 2. Selection. We remember the math that worked and forget the mountains that didn't. Partly true and worth conceding. But a forgotten miss is one thing. A structure that names an unseen particle and is right is another. 3. Evolution. Minds shaped by a mathematical world naturally grip mathematics. The problem is reach. Survival tuned us to count sheep and throw rocks, not for the abstractions that predicted antimatter. Richard Hamming, a great mathematician and no believer, walked through these very answers and concluded they cover only a small part. 4. Tegmark. The universe is math. Elegant, but as we saw, the wonder just changes address. Why does that structure exist at all? And why one rich enough for stars, chemistry, and readers? And the honesty clause, always. This is philosophy, not settled science. If someone shows the effectiveness is exactly what blind math must produce, our case gets weaker, and we will say so on this channel. So weigh it, the way we always do. On one side, brute fact. The universe just happens to be readable, and we just happen to read it. For no reason. Possible, but it explains nothing. On the other, a mind. Reason behind reality, whose thought the structure expresses, and minds made able to think those thoughts after it. On that view, an elegant, law-abiding, readable universe is roughly what you'd expect to find. The evidence raises the odds of a mind. It does not close the case. The scale settles. It doesn't slam. And notice, this is the same needle episode 1 moved with the fine-tuned constants, and the same fact last week's episode leaned on. The laws the arrow of time ran on were laws we could write. The dials aren't just precise, they're legible, two faces of one clue. And notice what a readable universe means for you, personally. The cosmos is not indifferent noise. It is the kind of thing that can be understood, and you are the kind of thing that can understand it. That's a strange dignity for a bag of atoms. Every equation you grasp is a small act of communion with whatever grounds the order. The oldest name our tradition gives that order is not a formula, it's a word. There is an old word for a universe that runs on a reason you can read. Logos. It's Greek. It means the rational principle underneath things, the logic of the cosmos. The Greeks used it for centuries. Then one gospel opens by borrowing it. In the beginning was the Logos. In the beginning was the Word. And it says that word is a person. So here is the claim. If reality is mathematical all the way down, the oldest Christian idea isn't that God stamps the equations. It's that the equations are handwriting. The universe is readable because someone reasonable wrote it. That's not a proof. It's a faith claim, and I'll label it as one. But it fits the evidence like a key. The heavens declare the glory of God. Examine the dark honestly. Watch for the light. If reality itself may be mathematical, how far is that from saying it is computed? Next week, are we living in a simulation? Get the evidence file and primary sources in the description. Then subscribe at Doubt and Dawn.